It's that time again, folks. Mailbag day here on the channel. But before we jump into all your hot takes and burning questions about the Chicago Bears, we need to talk about something that dropped recently and shook the fan base just a bit. Pro Football Focus released their offensive line rankings, and guess what? The Bears were ranked as the 4th best offensive line in the entire NFL. Yeah, 4th out of 32. And not just that, they're also number 1 in the NFC North according to that list. That's ahead of the Vikings, ahead of Detroit, and even ahead of the Packers. That's a huge leap in perception, especially when you consider where this unit has been in recent years. Now, for context, the Vikings came in at 7th, which feels pretty fair given their current personnel and continuity. Detroit, which had been widely regarded as having one of the strongest lines in the league, dropped to 13th, and yeah, the Frank Ragnow retirement definitely played a role there. The Packers came in at number 14. So yeah, all 4 teams from the division are in the top half of the league, which is kind of wild when you think about it. But still, the Bears sitting up 4th. That's a bold call from PFF. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I want to believe it. I really do. There's a part of me that's excited. Like, okay, we might finally have a solid wall in front of the quarterback, a group that can open up holes in the run game, hold the pocket, and let the offense actually function like it's supposed to. But then another part of me, the part that's been burned by this team year after year, is skeptical. Like, are we really ready to say this group is top 5 in the NFL? I don't know, man. I'm not there yet. Let's break it down a bit. First off, the left tackle position is still a major question mark. Is Braxton Jones going to take a step forward? Can he hold it down and protect Caleb Williams' blindside consistently? That's a massive piece of the puzzle. Then you look at a guy like Jonah Jackson. He's coming off a down year. The talent is there, but can he bounce back and be the reliable interior lineman the Bears are counting on? That's still up in the air. And beyond individual talent, there's the issue of cohesion. Offensive line play is all about chemistry. It's about 5 guys moving as one, knowing each other's tendencies, communicating on stunts, picking up blitzes. It takes time to build that. You can't just throw 5 talented guys together and expect magic to happen. And even the best lines in the league, think about Philadelphia for example, took years to build. Those guys were drafted and developed and played together season after season. Same with Detroit before Ragnow hung up his cleats. When you've got that kind of consistency, even if one guy rotates in or out, the whole thing still functions smoothly. Philly brought in guys like Matt Pryor or Jack Driscoll over the years, and those dudes looked solid just because they were surrounded by veterans who'd been playing at a high level together forever. That's not the case in Chicago, at least not yet. So yeah, I'm optimistic, but cautiously so. If someone came to me right now and said, hey, the Bears offensive line is guaranteed to be top 10 this year, I'd take that deal in a heartbeat. That feels realistic. That feels like progress. But top 4, that feels a little ambitious based on what we've actually seen. Potential is there, no doubt, but there are still hurdles to clear. There's still a lot that has to go right, and some of it is out of the team's control. Injuries, development curves, new coaching philosophies. All of it matters, but that's the thing with preseason rankings. They're projections. They're based on what teams did in the offseason, what's on paper, and a lot of assumptions. And if the Bears' offensive line lives up to that 4th place ranking, it could be the foundation for something special. Because let's be honest, this franchise hasn't exactly been known for protecting its quarterbacks. If Caleb Williams has time to sit in the pocket and go through his reads, if the run game can get going behind a solid interior push, this offense might finally look like a modern NFL unit. Speaking of the offense, let's get into one of the first questions we got from the mailbag, and it's about the future of the backfield in Chicago. One fan asked if the Bears are likely to draft a running back in the next NFL draft, and whether Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love could be the guy they target. That's an interesting one, especially since the Bears reportedly had a lot of interest in Ashton Jeanty this past year, and Jeremiah Love is shaping up to be the top running back in college football this season. At least that's what most of the way too early 2026 mock drafts are suggesting. Now let's be real. Projecting running backs a year or 2 in advance is tricky business. Every year we see guys hyped as top picks who end up falling for one reason or another. Chuba Hubbard was once considered a lock for the first round, then had a disappointing final year in college and fell way down draft boards. So nothing is guaranteed. But as things stand right now, Jeremiah Love looks like the real deal. He's a true 3-down back. He can run between the tackles, bounce it outside, catch the ball out of the backfield. He's got all the tools. If he stays healthy and puts up big numbers at Notre Dame this year, you better believe he'll be in the conversation for the first couple rounds next spring. And honestly, if the Bears did end up drafting him, I wouldn't hate it. Even with the guys currently on the roster, I think there's room to add another dynamic piece to that backfield, especially if they want to keep the pressure off Caleb early in his career. A guy like Love could be a game changer. Another question we got was about the edge rush position, specifically whether general manager Ryan Poles is likely to add a veteran pass rusher before the season starts. And if you follow Poles, over the last couple years, you know he's a guy who likes to make moves late in the offseason. He signed Riley Reiff 2 weeks before the season started to help at right tackle. He added Yannick Ngakoue in August last year. And even though the Darrell Taylor deal was technically a trade, that was another late addition. So yeah, I'd say it's more than possible, maybe even likely, that we see the Bears bring in another edge rusher before week 1. There's just too much uncertainty behind the top 2 guys. If you're banking on Austin Booker, Dominique Robinson, or Daniel Hardy as your number 3 edge rusher, that's a risky proposition. Those guys might have potential, but none of them have shown enough yet to inspire full confidence. If one of them ends up as your 4th guy in the rotation, fine. But for that 3rd spot, I'd feel a lot better with a veteran presence there. Names like Zadarius Smith or Jadavion Clowney have been floated, and while nothing has materialized yet, it wouldn't be shocking to see something happen soon. Smith in particular is interesting. He's a guy who can still be disruptive in the right role, but at this point in the offseason, his price tag needs to make sense. You're not throwing $11 or $12 million at a rotational pass rusher. If the market was that strong, he probably would have signed already. So maybe something in the $6 to $8 million range with some incentives built in. That's more realistic. We also got a question about Caleb Williams and whether he might follow in the footsteps of Tom Brady and take less money to help the team down the road. And listen, it's a fun idea. It's something fans love to imagine. Your star quarterback sacrificing a few million here and there to build a better roster. But let's be honest, that's rare. Tom Brady was a one-of-phone situation. Different era, different market, and let's not forget Brady was making a boatload of cash off the field. Caleb's camp is very business savvy, and if he plays well enough to command a huge second contract, he's gonna want to cash in. That's just the nature of the NFL today. Now, could the Bears structure a deal that gives him a big signing bonus up front and helps keep the cap hits manageable? Sure, that's what smart teams do. It's the Philadelphia Eagles model. Front load the money, give the player what he wants, but protect the team's flexibility. But straight up pay cuts, I don't count on that. Let's just hope Caleb plays well enough that we even get to that point where a second contract is the conversation, because Chicago hasn't exactly been a quarterback-friendly franchise when it comes to second deals. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the quarterback room, and a question that's been coming up more and more as we inch closer to training camp. One of the fans asked if Case Keenum is going to be the number 2 quarterback behind Caleb Williams and what that means for Tyson Bagent's future in Chicago. It's a fair question, and honestly, this is shaping up to be one of the more interesting position battles of the offseason. Because on the surface, it might not feel like a huge deal. Backup quarterback, right? But when you look closer, it could actually tell us a lot about how the team views both of these guys and what their long-term strategy is. So here's the deal. If Case Keenum, a seasoned veteran with years of experience, wins the backup job and is listed as the number 2 behind Caleb Williams, that's a pretty loud message. It means the staff feels more comfortable with the stability and leadership Keenum brings, especially in the film room and on the sideline helping Caleb adjust to the NFL speed. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it might be the smartest thing they could do in the short term. Keenum's not going to compete for a starting job, but he knows how to prep like a starter, how to study defenses, how to keep a young quarterback calm during chaos. That has real value. But the flip side of that coin is what it means for Tyson Bagent. Because if Keenum is clearly the number 2, then Bagent, who's still young, still developing, still trying to prove he belongs, suddenly becomes a bit expendable. Not in the sense that the Bears would just cut him outright, but his window to prove himself starts to shrink. Maybe they carry 3 quarterbacks on the active roster this year, which I actually think they will. But going into next season, that's where things could get tricky. if Bagan isn't firmly entrenched as the backup, by the end of this year, there's a decent chance he looks elsewhere in free agency, trying to find a fresh start and a better shot to move up a depth chart. And look, Bagan has shown flashes. He stepped in a couple seasons ago when Fields got hurt and managed to go 2-2 as a starter. That's not nothing, especially for an undrafted rookie. The kid's got moxie, he's got poise, and I do think he can carve out a long career as a backup in this league. Maybe even be that guy who can come in for a few games and keep the ship afloat. But is he a long-term number 2 in Chicago? That's the big question this preseason might answer. Because if he can beat out Keenum and show the coaching staff that he's taken another step that changes everything, that means he's sticking around. But if he loses that job decisively, he might be headed toward a New Jersey by next fall. All right, let's turn to a fun one now. Somebody asked for predictions on how the NFC North will shake out in the 2025 season. Who's going to finish first? Who's going to be on the outside looking in? And man, that's tough. This division has quietly become one of the most competitive in football. All 4 teams have talent. All 4 have young quarterbacks with something to prove, and you can make a legit case for any of them to win the division or to finish last. Let's start with the Lions. They had a breakout year not too long ago, and while losing Ragnar Hurts, they still have a solid roster. Jared Goff isn't flashy, but he's been effective in Ben Johnson's system. They've got weapons, they've got a strong coaching staff, and they play hard. You can't sleep on Detroit anymore. Then there's the Packers. Jordan Love showed real growth toward the end of last season, and that defense is always pesky. If Love takes another step and the young receiving core continues to develop, Green Bay could absolutely be in the hunt. The Vikings are a bit more of a mystery. They've got talent, no doubt, especially at receiver, but the quarterback situation is a wild card. If they hit on whoever ends up starting, maybe a rookie, maybe a vet, then they're dangerous. But if not, they could slide fast. And then you've got the Bears, new era, new quarterback, new expectations. If Caleb is the real deal and the offensive line holds up, and that's a big if, this team could surprise a lot of people. But it's going to come down to execution and health. Like always, so yeah, predicting this division is like throwing darts blindfolded right now. But hey, that's what makes it fun. Switching things up again, we had someone mention the Saints and whether they might become sellers at the trade deadline and if the Bears should think about targeting someone like Alvin Kamara. Now that's interesting. First off, the Saints are one of those teams in a weird spot. They've got some aging stars, a lot of dead cap in the books, and they might not be true contenders anymore. So yeah, it's very possible they start off slow and decide to hit the reset button mid-season. If that happens, Kamara would be a logical name to watch. And while Kamara is obviously a big name and a fan favorite in New Orleans, we have to acknowledge the business side of the league. He's not getting younger, and if the Saints want to recoup value before his deal becomes a burden, they might be open to moving him. The Bears could definitely be a landing spot, especially if they feel like they're a piece away from making a run and want to give Caleb an elite weapon in the backfield. We've seen other backs get moved mid-season in recent years. Christian McCaffrey being the big one, and that kind of splash can energize a team. So if Chicago's offense is humming but still missing that one extra gear, Kamara could be a name to watch. Same goes for Jonathan Taylor if things go south in Indianapolis. Keep an eye on that. We also had a fan ask whether the Bears should pay Zadarius Smith more than $11 million for a one-year deal. And look, I get the temptation. Smith is still a productive player. He knows how to get after the quarterback. But $11 million, that's a steep number this late in the game. At this point in the offseason, most of the big money has already been handed out. Teams aren't eager to throw double-digit millions at rotational players, no matter how good they are. If the Bears could land him for $6 to $8 million, maybe with some performance bonuses, I'm all in. That's a fair price for a guy who might not start but can still play 40-50% of the snaps and get to the quarterback. But anything more than that feels like an overpay, especially when you consider that Ngakwe got $10 million from the Bears last year and didn't exactly light it up. And besides, Poles has shown he's disciplined when it comes to the market. He's not going to panic and overpay just to make a splash. He's going to wait, let things play out and strike when the value lines up with the need. That's how you build a roster that's sustainable, not just flashy. So yeah, I like Zadarius Smith, but $11 million, I'm taking the under on that all day. Let's wrap this up with something that's been on my mind. And it came up in a few different Questions. The Bears are finally in a position where they might have long-term stability at quarterback. Think about that for a second. How rare is that in Chicago? This is a franchise that has never given a quarterback a second contract after his rookie deal. Never. It's been a revolving door, year after year, stopgap after stopgap. But now there's a real shot that Caleb Williams breaks that curse. If he plays up to his potential, if he lives up to the hype, the Bears could finally build around a quarterback instead of constantly replacing one. That changes everything. That changes how you draft, how you spend in free agency, how you develop talent. So while we're talking about backups and contracts and potential trades, don't lose sight of the big picture. We might be witnessing the start of a new era in Chicago football. One where the Bears aren't just trying to survive, but to compete, to contend, to build something that lasts. It's early, no doubt, and a lot can still go wrong. But for the first time in a long time, there's hope. And not just blind optimism, actual reasons to believe. So buckle up, Bears fans, because if this team can put it all together, the next few years could be something special. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling in the NFL world as rumors suggest that Nashon Wright, a promising young cornerback, might be closing in on a deal with the Chicago Bears. If true, this move could send shockwaves through the NFC North division and alter the competitive landscape heading into the next season. Wright, known for his athleticism and ability to lock down receivers, has been on the radar of several teams looking to bolster their secondary. The Bears, eager to strengthen their defensive backfield after a challenging year, seem to be positioning themselves as a prime destination. Sources close to the situation hint that negotiations are advancing rapidly, with both parties showing significant interest. This potential signing could address one of Chicago's most pressing needs. Last season, the Bears' defense struggled at times in coverage, allowing opponents to exploit their secondary. Wright's addition would not only add youthful energy, but also bring versatility to the defensive scheme, potentially improving overall pass defense and opening up new strategic possibilities for the coaching staff. For the NFC North, this possible acquisition is a game changer. The division already boasts tough contenders like the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, and Detroit Lions, each with their own defensive strengths. The Bears securing a talent like Wright would signal their intent to reassert dominance and shake up the status quo in a fiercely competitive division. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders believe the timing of his move aligns with the Bears' broader strategy to revamp their roster. With free agency and draft decisions still unfolding, the Wright chatter adds an intriguing layer of speculation. Fans and analysts alike are eagerly watching for any official announcements, as this signing could mark the start of a new defensive era in Chicago. As the rumor mill heats up, the question remains, will Nashon Wright truly join the Bears and ignite a defensive resurgence that could redefine the NFC North's balance of power? Only time will tell, but the buzz is undeniable and expectations are soaring. Keep an eye on this developing story. It might just be the spark the Bears need to challenge their divisional rivals in a big way. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.